Okay. Welcome to the session, guys. Thanks for joining. Um, my name is Cosentino, and today we're going to be talking about Windows 2003, the server, Windows 2003. We're going to install that. Um, I, again, I'm a systems architect and trainer and IT professional. Um, again, I also work as a trainer and teach. Um, for the last 10, 15 years. Again, I train thousands of people. So, sometimes I get some requests, so I'll create little short videos of that. But again, there's full courses on this stuff, guys. If you're interested, please join my WhatsApp group, and we can talk about that. First thing I want to do is install. I want to download the ISO CD, um, and again, I've already done so, but I'll send this link here. We just click on the link, and this will bring us to the um, it'll bring us to the software here. I have a link here. Give you guys the correct link this time. Make sure that works. I've downloaded that. It's just 475 megabytes, and it's just a CU cumulative service pack SP2, which includes the latest updates, etc., etc., etc. There's different versions of this. Again, just download it. Pretty easy. I've already downloaded it, and I've already created a base machine. Again, guys, go to File with whatever's. Again, I have videos on how to use different hypervisors to create those bare metal machines. So you can check other videos on that. But my tool in the shed is the Works VMware Workstation Pro. So when I'm creating the machine, I create a typical, and then I choose. I don't avoid the issues to happen, so I don't install it because it won't detect the operating system right away. So you always have to create the. Obviously, you want to create the bare metal first before you do anything. If you have any questions, you go to the help section, and that'll take you to the documentations page on based on the version that you have, and so forth. Um, for no particular reason, I Workstation Pro 16. I also have Workstation Pro 17 and 15 and 14, etc. So again, it's up to you. I have another video on to show you how to install it through Broadcom's website. So I'm going to click next. I'm going to choose the correct version, which is the 64-bit version. When Microsoft Windows against the operating system, etc., etc. And then give it the name, location, next, give it the size. In this case, I have already, I'm not going to customize the hardware here, but I've already done it. Given it 8 GB, 4 processors, 4 core processors, and I've given it 4 disks and 5 disks. 4 are going to be used for RAID, and then one of them is for the operating system. So these 4 disks, 5, 2, 3, 4, and 5, will be in a RAID configuration. I'll show you guys how to do that later. I've given it 2 network adapters, and I have mounted the CD DVD. Uh, Again, both adapters are running. They're on the VM network. They're and one of the, both on 2 separate VM networks, and this is going to be used for NIC teaming in case I want to use it for specific things. And again, NIC teaming, I've explained that to you guys in previous videos. So please follow those videos, like and subscribe those videos. And again, join my WhatsApp group channel if you guys have any questions or comments. So I'm not gonna continue with this creation of new virtual machine because I've already created it. And I've already mounted my my ISO. So before I go ahead and start it, I don't have any options. I can always enable. I like to enable my network drives just in case I need something like Google Chrome. So that's a good idea in case you run into any issues. So I run those. Uh, again, I'm just gonna open the whole folder and then call it whatever you want. And this will be uh, my share, and then click next. So again, this shit folder is expressed to programs in the virtual machine. So this may put your computer at data risk. Only enable share folders if you trust this virtual machine. Obviously, we trust this virtual machine because I'm the one that's creating it. Okay. Next. And then hit OK. And then I also want to add Lala login that we'll talk about. I talked about in other classes with the version of VMware tools. And then we also have our firmware type. This instance, we're going to be using BIOS. I'll show you how to log into the BIOS. We can power onto the firmware. So this will power onto the BIOS. It used to be called BIOS, but then they changed it to firmware. So this will just load the machine into the BIOS. And again, I think in other videos I've showed you guys how to, um, you know, move and uh, maneuver and steer into this by using the plus and minus signs and enter signs. Make sure that the date and time is correct. Or you can just click in and then move the up and down arrows, right arrows, and then plus or minus to change values. Select the item up and down, left and right select menu, and then F10 to save and exit. So again, I'm not going to touch anything here. I'm not going to create a password. I showed you guys how to do that. I can put that if I want to, and then I can boot to whatever I want. In this case, I'll probably boot to the CD-ROM, um, just because that's what I want to do. Or I can move the device up or down using the plus or minus. Well, Control Alt to move out of the screen, so I can move my mouse and then double click in the box so that you're able to maneuver up and down with your mouse, your keyboard. Um, so again, Control Alt to release in the virtual screen to release the send this keystrokes, and um, hide this box here. So that's it. And then this one here, again, I downloaded the CD for you guys. I also want to talk about Windows 3, Server 2003, which was codenamed Whistler Server. It's a 6th version of Windows Server, just like in Windows 2008. It was called the Windows Server 7 or Longhorn for 2008 and Windows Server 7 for 2008 R2. In this part of the Windows NT family of operating system that was released to manufacture in 23 of March, 2003 of March, and then available to the public on in April 2003. Windows Server 2003 is a successor to the Server editions of Windows 2000, and again the predecessors to the Windows Server 2008. There was an updated version, which was the Windows Server 2003 R2. That was there released to manufacturing 2 years later, December of 2005. So that's the one we have, part of the similar to the what we need, and that'll have all the versions we need. So we'll see that when we install it. So this is based on Windows XP. This server's kernel, I'll also explain what kernel means, and then I'll also explain what ACP is. So kernel, very important to understand what kernel means. Pull up some good instructions on kernel for you. What is a kernel? Very important, very important. So I want you guys to be aware of what that is and how that works. So again, um, the kernel itself is a program at the core of the computer's operating system, and generally has a complete control over everything in the system. So the kernel is also responsible for preventing and mitigating conflicts between different processes, right? It is a portion of the operating system code that always is always resident in the memory. So again, like if you're making changes, um, you know, basically how a kernel connects to the application software, to the hardware of the computer. Again, you have your CPU, your memory, and device, which sits in between that and the application. So it's a portion of that code that's always resident in the memory. So any changes that are made reverting back isn't the best possible solution for you guys. So it's always good to start afresh. So even if you do make a mistake and you want to revert back, um, you basically you don't want to revert back because it's never the same, right? So a full kernel controls the hardware resources like your I/O, input output, memory, cryptography, and device drivers. Again, that those operate the or control the particular type of device that's attached to the computer or automation. So again, your hardware, um, operating system, application, and user model, which arbitrates conflicts between processes concerning such resources, optimization, utilization of common resources like CPU and cache, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So on most systems, the kernel is one of the first programs loaded upon the startup after the bootloader. That handles the rest of the startup, so that's important. Um, right. So I'll give you guys, um, copy that, and again, that's your bootloader. This would be a example of a bootloader, or this would be an example of a bootloader for the Windows Boot Manager. I'm sure you guys already seen this. Uh, so we will talk about kernel, like like the Sergeant Hole kernel, uh, and then we'll also talk about bootloader. Right? Right, so this part of it is important. Right? I'll send you guys some links to read up on, some good literature to read up on. This is our boot manager, right? So that's what the bootloader is. So again, it's also spelled in two words. So that's the computer program is a computer program that's responsible for that. And it also provides interactive menu. So I will, when the computer's turned off, its software, including the OS application code and data, remains stored in the non-volatile memory, the NVM, right? I'm sure you've seen that before. Uh, where did we see that, guys? We saw that um, in our settings. If you guys remember, we saw NVMe, non-volatile memory. We saw that in our hard disks. So that's a Stella hard disk. Um, Again, uh, this is good information for you to learn. Again, when a computer is turned off, again, are stored on that memory, non-volatile memory. So that's type of computer that can be stored information even after the power is removed. So the volatile memory, and then when the computer is powered on, it typically does not have an operating system, so it loads a random access memory, right? And then that computer executes a very small program stored in the read-only memory ROM, or later EEPROM or NOR flash, along with some needed data to initialize the RAM, especially on the 86 architecture systems, your 32-bit, to access that non-volatile device, usually a block device, right? Like a Unix-like operating system, uh, which is a special file and is an interface to the device driver. These were used a lot in DOS and OS2. So this is also important. I will give you this. Um, I'll give you some notes here. Order important. So that's important. Um, and there's so many words here, but it can be spelled as however you'd like, or it used to be called the right that provides an interactive menu, and I showed you guys how that looks. So that's that. And again, so the 2003 kernel has also been used in the Windows XP 64-bit architecture edition and Windows XP Professional 64-bit edition, and was that starting point for the development of Windows Vista, which is never used anymore. It was short term. So that 2003 is the final version of the Windows server that supports processors without ACPI, and I'll explain what that means. So 2008, it required the processor in any supported architecture, and I'll also talk about Titanium IA 64-bit. And in 2016, servers, 18% of organizations were using this. As a fun fact. We're using Windows Server 2003, and I remember those days. Right, so ACPI is your Advanced Configuration and Power Interface, and that's an open standard that the operating systems can use to discover and configure computer hardware components to perform power management. So sort of like putting unused hardware components to sleep. That's what that uses. Auto configuration like plug and play and hot swapping and status monitoring. So very important. Uh, we use our power options when we're giving character to our servers. So again, the ACPI is that open standard so that the operating systems can use to discover that. So it uses ACPI. Let's see if we can get a picture of ACPI. You get ACPI pictures. Get a picture of it. It's just a plug and play. Um, let's see. ACPI, ACPI. Um, see if we can get an image. So this is sort of these are drivers. You'll see the drivers in your device manager. Those will explain to you what those are. Um, again, you'll see it. Let's see if we have it in our machine. Again, you'll see the ACPI compliance system in our device manager. So if we go into our systems, in our systems, so power one on. Let me power this one on. And in the meantime, I'm just going to load the CD-ROM. Ah, do 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 do. State. It's again that machine uh was in a suspended state. So I'm just listen to logs. If there's anything wrong, I can take a look at the message logs if there were any. Um, Give me 1 second while we go. So go back to our thing. So I'll show you guys what that looks like, and that's again our device manager. Right, for ACPI 64 based PCs. Um, you'll see that. Um, yeah. Let's see if I can get some good picture. So this is sort of like what the graphics card looks like. Um, show you. Oh, so the graphics card is the modern gaming and multimedia system. Um, so that's sort of like your video card, your GPU. graphics processing unit. Um, and that's the heart of the graphics card that's responsible for um, executing complex calculation images, right? Then you have your video RAM, VRAM, which is your special type of memory. And virtual machines, we're going to use that cooling system, power connectors, and outputs like your HDMI displays. Uh, Choosing the right graphics card, benchmarking those as well too. You want to benchmark. That's another term I want you guys to learn is benchmarking. Uh, PIs, you know, to know which one is better. Um, right? You can benchmark those in specific versions to kind of see what's good, what's out there compared to other models in terms of latency, read uncached transfer speeds, etc. Right? Transfer speeds. So you also want to check those benchmarks. So benchmarking is important. Um, Again, for gaming, if you want. Well, the future looks promising, so this is something that might be continued with advancement as the technology grows in demand for high quality visuals. So the better the graphics card, the PC graphics card, the better the uh, better the high visual qualities. Right, you're like your DX tag. I wonder if DX tag shows you, but yeah, I'll have to take a look at that. Um, I'll give you guys again, that's what that is. It's just the hardware that's responsible for rendering that. And that's what ACPI is in terms of architecture. Then there's our benchmarkings. So if you're deciding to make changes to those, you can take those, the information and look at the different benchmarks. Um, Again, device manager. So we'll go back to our device manager. Uh, yeah, let's go to our device manager. Oh, it's still loading. Waiting for the restoring of the virtual machine state. It's just taking a little bit of time. Um, which memory am I using? That's, that's a little faster now. Next topics. Still gotta set up Windows 11. I also want to talk about a few other things. Again, the differences between 2012 to 2019, because that does make a difference. I'll explain that in another video. Also want to talk about RAID. Talk about RAID. Separate that in one full class on that. And then I also want to talk about MECM, which is our SCCM. And still want to talk about our infrastructure, computing infrastructure, sort of like our SCVMM, um, just something basic on that. But in terms of creating machines, so for Citrix, we won't be able to create that machine. It requires software that's no longer free. I'm not sure what happened. I'll have to dig up some software and see if I can find some software. But it looks like there's the free software is no longer available. The only software that's available is the Citrix, not the hypervisor, but um, the client for the client machines. That is Citrix one. Citrix. Workspace app. That's the one. So that workspace app again. That's the only thing I'm able to download. Everything else is You need a. They stopped. I think 2 years ago they stopped. I was able to do it for free on two devices, but I guess they stopped in 2022. I think it was, or 21. One of those two things. So that's now been deprecated, and also we'll talk about AWS a little bit in later dates. And I also want to talk about Intune, um, Office 365 admin. We'll talk about Exchange. So there's a lot of things on my list. So again, join my WhatsApp group and tell me what you want to hear next. Taking a long time. Oh, yeah, so this is still restoring the virtual machine state. One of my DCs, it's got a lot of data inside of it, so it probably takes a little bit of time. No issues. Um, what else can we talk about? IA464 Intel Itanium. Um, so that right there is widely talked about. So that um, architecture IC of the discontinued Itanium family of the 64-bit Intel microprocessor. So the basic ISA. I'm going to talk about ISA specifications. Um, so first Intel processor codenamed Merced was released 23 years ago in 2001. So that Itanium architecture, um, Intel Itanium architecture, is based on the explicit instruction level, um, which the compiler decides to which instructions to execute in parallel. May sound a little tacky, but well, it does make sense once you read up on it. Again, there's this contrasts with superscalar architectures, which depend on the processor to manage instruction dependencies at runtime. So in all Intanium models, up to including Taquilla cores execute up to 6 instructions per cycle. So 2008, Intanium was the fourth most deployed microprocessor architecture for the class for enterprise class systems. Again, for Power IC Spark 2019, they discontinued the last CPU supporting IA64 architecture. I'm surprised, but unfortunately, that's the way the cookie crumbles. So, um, talked about ICPA. Um, Okay, so ISA is that set of instructions defined by the set of basic operations a computer must support. So if you hear that, that's the functional definition of operations and precise descriptions of how to invoke and access them. An ISA is independent from the microarchitecture, which refers to the implementation of an ISA instruction set architecture and a processor. So typically an ISA will include instructions for data handling, memory operation, arithmetic, logics, control flow options. That's what that is. That's very, 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 very important. Um, and again, um, ISA. Um, so there's your set of instructions. Um, so here's a good picture for that. I'll take that picture, um, and I'll save that for us. Copy, because that'll explain the instruction architecture, um, different layers of abstraction, right? So it's just a group of commands inbuilt to the processor's microarchitecture that I say defines a set of machine instructions, right? So can decode and execute. So that's what that is. Uh, some good literature on this. Um, we have your ISA slots and the bus commands here. So that's where your ISA slots are. You have your PCI slots, your AGP slots, your batteries, connectors, RAM, the battery, the CMOS battery. You have your CPU, BIOS expansion board that sits on top of those ISAs. Um, and here is the motherboard with 3 16-bit ISA slots. So here's some good information for you guys to take a look at. This will make sense though. Right? These are all your expansion slots. Some earlier ones like ESI, AGP, etc., etc. If it's too advanced for you, again, look into this. It's pronounced ISA, and those are accepted cards for sound display hard drives and other devices, right? So um, take a look at that. Um, okay, take a look at that. I'll send you guys some of this information here for you guys to read, and it's still reading. Right? So this is your architecture. Again, it may sound a little bit difficult, but again, this is how um, that works. Um, so again, um, the architecture implements a large number of registers, which are basically 64-bit plus one trap bit. Um, and that's used to used for speculative execution. 32 of those are static, and the other 96 are stacked using variable size registers. Um, Again, the architecture is important to decode and send out instructions. So it's very important for you to kind of understand that architecture, um, especially when you're dealing with this old software. Um, those special for applications, registers, which are mostly interested to the kernel and not the ordinary application. So one register called the BSP point, points to the second stack. Um, BSP point, see if I can find that here, the diagram. Okay, right. So set, which is where the hardware will automatically spell the registers when the register window wraps around. So that's that. Then there's also support dates. Um, see if I can get the support dates for you. Okay, this was a life cycle. Again, guys, it no longer exists. Um, the extended end date for this version was 2015, which is about 9 years ago. Um, there are support paths from upgrading to that if you want to. Oh, that doesn't work, I guess. But you kind of get the gist of that. Um, you know, again, it was released many moons ago. Um, so, be aware of that. Obviously, if you're just for testing purposes, this is a great time to do so, just so that you learn how to use it. Um, so these are the support dates. What was that? So um, it's here. So again, um, my support cycle. So this was a cycle, the cycle timeline. So the timeline based on the dates. So 2003, although it was unsupported, they released an emergency security patch, which is kind of cool for the OS as well as other versions without a service pack to address a vulnerability that was leveraging the WannaCry ransom attack. So this is why um, it was a worldwide cyber attack that happened in 2017. So that kind of the emergency security patch was because of that. In 2020, Microsoft announced that it would be disable the Windows Update Server service for SHA-1 endpoints. And again, those updates were still available in the Microsoft catalog. Um, there's also some source code leaks on that. See enterprise editions. Those were again, they supported up to 64. This is the architecture, 64 gigabytes of RAM. So imagine how small, how or PAE. PAE is physical address extension page, not really important. But again, you guys kind of understand. You guys can read up on this stuff and take a look at that non-volatile memory, um, NUMA, which is a non-uniform memory access. That was for multi-processing, where the memory access time depends on the memory location. So it can access its own memory faster than um, where it's at right now. Um, so yeah, here's some great stuff on that just to kind of familiar yourself with what that is. So again, um, I'll post some of these links here for you to read. And you kind of understand the components of what those are and how the ISA instruction works between hardware and software interfaces. So that's fun stuff. And is it done? No, it's still not done. Okay, so I need to boot up a machine. I want to show you the device manager. So hopefully I can boot up one of those machines that lets me. What's taking so long? See this line responding. So I'm it's really taking a long time. Starts that machine. I need to start that machine. Hopefully that machine now starts. I little bit of time, guys. My apologies. There's a lot of data in this server. Still a lot of stuff. The server hypervisor is running, so that should be running shortly. Oh, there we go. So let's go ahead and log into it. I just want to show you guys the before I go ahead and install it. I don't even really need this. Um, CPI. Um, Manager. Let's see if the device manager tells us that. It's important. So, okay, well, it's still loading. Give it 1 sec. Let's load the software. Perfect. Perfect. Hyper-V. So my next session is still gonna finish the I'm gonna have 2019, 2016, and 2012 server with Hyper-V, and I'll show you the differences. And why I wasn't able to install Windows 11 machine on 2012. So we'll have to, we know that. This I don't need. For that to finish. Okay, so um, I want to open up my device manager, and see if I can show you the ACPI drivers. Um, there we go. So the computer does use this is an ACPI 64-bit based PC. So if you see that, you know what that is. This uses NVMe, non-volatile memory disks, and SCSI disks that are attached. This uses a SVGA 3D card. And then you have your IDE controllers. You have your LTP and COM ports, communication ports, your processors, your sound, your storage controllers, uh, and your system devices, and we can also add, if I can remember, HDD hardware, hardware. Um, is that again? Hardware HDDW or HD hardware wizard. So it's HD wizard. The shortcut is HDW wiz. That's CPL HDW wiz wizard. So if we need to add a specific device, tip a nice piece of advice for you guys, gurus out there. Wiz.cpl. This we should be able to add. Um, um, well, and we can obviously hardware changes. We can add legacy hardware, right? Right. So we can search or install automatically select from the list. Usually that's what we want to do. I can install any of the hardwares that I want. Um, so for example, let's say a good example would be loopback, loopback adapter, basic displays, no ACPI support. Um, recommend installing one that I want. Um, Microsoft loopback adapter. I can't find the adapter. Where's the adapter? That's just an example of a network adapter that I can add. Um, Recommended manually. Where is it? Uh, oh, there it is. Okay, so I would go there and then I would add the Microsoft, let's say for example, I would add the loopback test adapter. Um, when I am, so again, these drivers are all digitally signed, um, specific to the manufacturer. I can add whatever I want. So that's that. And again, that's where the ACPI is. So if you guys see this, again, that is based and working fine. Um, Again, there's all configured. Again, I explained it to you. I'll send you guys some information on that. So let's go ahead and install the 2003. I'm going to boot from CD DVD. See if I can, okay, up and down here, enter. Let's go exit F10. Let's go ahead and install this. Not supposed to power on. Reset the machine. Off, off. Or, oh, what happened? Why did it boot up? Um, Time's fine. It looks fine. Up, let's go up. Okay, changes. Exit saving changes. Okay. The issue here? What is the issue? Why is it doing that? I don't want it to do that. Should exit that. It's gonna exit. Should boot. That should work. So. Ah, Like it doesn't like the ISO. Okay, interesting. Okay, I'll be right back. Right back. I'll be right back. It looks like I sent out the version itself doesn't load. Know what happened there. It didn't extract it. Oh, the ISO didn't work. It's kind of weird. Be right back. Okay, so I sorry about that, guys. I had to find my um working version of Windows Server 2003. I thought that would work, but it looks like it's just something that works on top or it can extract on top. It's the ISO. I'm not sure why it's not even mounting. Weird. That's okay. So that's done. I'm going to okay. So I'm going to um share my screen. Right. I'm gonna mount power this off, shut down. Okay, and then build a file here, browse, and then I'm gonna give it the so okay. So I'm not gonna power on the machine and hopefully that one. So there we go. And we got that again. Press F2 to run the automated system recovery. So this is the Windows Server 2003 Enterprise Edition setup. This portion of setup advice for the Windows. So we're just gonna hit. I'm not gonna repair anything. I'm just gonna hit enter. Um, click in and then press enter. And then agree F8. And I can go page down. So it's giving me the Windows licensing agreement. And then I can press F8. And then this is where I'm going to set up the windows on the selected item that I wanted to set up on. In this case, it's the 150 gigs. So that would be set up as 153.594 megabytes. I'm gonna select that one. I'm not gonna delete anything. I don't need to create any other partitions. So I'm just gonna hit enter. And then I'm going to format this using the NTFS file system. And then we'll wait for that to work. It's magic. Let's wait. Again, the cycles we talked about. Uh, it's installing. I've only got the 2003. My apologies again. So that's the SB2. That's fine. Guess it didn't work on that one. Weird. Works here. Um, let's see. Okay. Mhm. Interesting. Mm, mm, mm. Next. 200. Next. Next. See what happens. All right, so let's power this on. So it looks like I was able to, okay, so let's set it up now. Let's just set it up, get out of the way. F8, and I'll explain to that. So unpartitioned, we'll create the partition, then hit enter to create the partition. And that's what happened. And then we're going to install it. And then we're going to use click. I'm going to format that. Okay. So, using an IDE. I'll just do what's up. Hard drive. Um, that's fine. Next. So I can still use SCSI. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I didn't partition it. Maybe that's what happened. Missed a step there. Let's just create them. Finish. Next. Next. 50. Next. More. Start the computer. Perfect. Looks like it is. Okay, installed it. Okay. Set. Hey, machine power. Wow. What is it? Leap. Okay. Um, Let's try. So trying again. Sure what happened. Let's see what happens. Awesome loop. Okay. Nice information I found about it. Looks like over overclock in the hardware. Resolve the issue here. I'll go back to my settings. Show you what I did. I had 8 GB. I never could do it. I had two core processor. I had a SCSI disk. I'm not another SCSI disk. So this is basically my picture here for now. Uh, Great. So the architecture was off there, but figured it out. There you have it. Set up the language options, technical next, standard adapt, find language, all good. Next, let's check my full name of my full name and the organizations. So I'm gonna give it my name and second, guys, and sharing. Okay, guys, I'll have to come back and do this again. Some technical issues with the key. I have to test it, and I'll come back and I'll create another video on me finishing it. So again, thanks again. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.